This is just a temporary tutorial until we get the 2009 tutorials up. What I do is talk about using multiple joints to avoid candy wrapping and to split out some of the rotations on the wrist here. So what you probably have seen if you have a 3-joint chain like this, which is standard, I call it a control rig joint, I can rotate my wrist up and down, that works just fine. But when I rotate my wrist in X, one of the problems is I'm having localized rotations right here. And really when you rotate your arm, for one, this is a little bit ugly, and for two, you'd like it to kind of travel up the arm a little bit, like your real arm. In the real arm, you have 2 joints there that overlap over each other, the radius and the ulna, but just to help it to not lose some volume and things like that. Now, the main problem right now is if I try and do that by weighting, I'm going to totally screw up my weighting for the wrist in the X or in the Y and Z directions if I start painting for X. So the standard fix for that is to actually put another joint right in here, and what that joint's going to do is help the rotations fall off down the arm. Now the one thing you'll get with that, if you only have one joint there, is what we call candy wrapping. And what happens is we get this isolated rotation right at that point, and you start to lose a bunch of volume. If you look at this cube here, I start losing volume, and if I push it even more, it starts to squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. It's really, really ugly. With smooth bind, it's almost always going to happen, no matter how many things you put on there. But what we can do is try and help that a little bit by adding a few more joints in. So what I'm going to do is go look at my third option, which is I call it the bind joint. And basically that has 3 joints in between. If this is the elbow, I have 3 forearm joints, and then my wrist. Then I also do the same thing for my bicep up here. And when we rotate these all together, we get an, oops, I gotta select them. There we go. We get a nice fall off. And we also, as you notice, I don't have to twist as far. If I want 4 joints to all go to 90 degrees, I only need to twist them, well, I'm not going to do the math right now, but around 20 degrees. Let's see what that looks like. It's a little more than that. But you see, we get a much nicer rotation. We don't lose our volume like we were before. And if we wanted to paint that up a little bit, we could have a really nice arm going on. The other thing, too, is if I rotate the wrist, I still have my nice localized rotations for the wrist in Z and Y axis, so you can get a nice rolling wrist that can still bend. Oh, there it is, at the wrist itself, which is more realistic and actually just kind of seems a little bit nicer.